I shot it last week. When I shot it last week doing that, it didn't show up in the video as side by
Yeah,
side.
it showed up as me bigger and then you up top, I think. So
I
that
thought it was going back and forth between our voices as to which one was, but I don't know. I didn't look at it too closely.
so I think that's what it was. I think that I may need to preface people before they start talking, before I start recording, that I need to finish talking and then they can start.
Yeah.
Like how I would for a normal interview. But
Mm-hmm.
just making sure that it's not like blah 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 and then bouncing between both of us. So
Right.
I think
Yes.
I'm going to talk now that I've paused. Now you can start. So I think that's how I'll probably have to do it. The other thing too is that I'm not completely sold on Zoom either. I may very possibly because because I was able to finish some of the other pre-production stuff a little bit faster than I thought I would be able to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spend this week pretty much checking out all my other options for recording services, just to see kind of what is the best option at this point, since I won't be doing like the in-person interviews. The other thing that I wanted to bring up with you is that I actually was able to finally get into contact with two of the three professors that you had suggested I reach out to.
Brilliant. Yes.
So I have heard from Cunningham,
Yes.
and he told me that he's on vacation. He said he is unavailable to do anything until after August 5th. Obviously, I wanted to try
We
and,
still have tons of time then.
yes. So I believe that that would put me in what, the fifth week, which is good because at
Yeah.
this week, is going to just like pretty much what I have set up for myself to submit for my artifacts this particular week. I will be doing, sorry, I'm just going back to my production journal. I am going to be submitting, let's see, a video release, which I have to create, just to make sure that everything's all covered and that no one can try and come back and
Right. Yes.
take all my footage off or whatever. Mostly the concern being influencers, because I'm obviously going to be asking questions that are like, are you honest with your viewers? Have you ever, posted a review that's not accurate to how you truly feel? So I just feel like I have to have that just so I can be like, you can't tell me to take the footage down and you agreed to do this. So I'm going to make everyone sign it before we even start.
Yes, that's a good idea.
So
Very
I'll
good
do
idea.
that for this particular week. And then I'll share some test footage of the different like platforms I'm testing out just to see which one I'm going to end up going with. I wanted to ask you if you think that I should put it on, I haven't created the YouTube channel for this yet. Do you think that it would be okay if I put the test footage of the different platforms I'm testing out this week on my YouTube channel so that I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'll put it on my own YouTube channel and I'll just send it to you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put anything like on the YouTube channel I'm going to make until I actually like have all the
No, I think that's a good plan. I think that's a good plan.
Okay. So then you'll get that. And then I'm going to also share a finalized list of interviews of like who I'll be.
Who's the other person that responded to you?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. The other person that responded was, let's see, so many of these emails that I've been going through. Professor Burns said that she is unavailable. She had suggested someone else, Kirsten Wesner, but I also sent her an email and I have not heard anything back from her yet.
From Kirsten.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did actually, and I was going to include the screenshot, but I did send a note out onto my like personal Twitter page because I follow obviously a lot of media members. And I've had quite a few people that have reached out because I was like, I'm looking for people for my grad school project to talk about the power of influencers. If you're someone that's a media professional that works in social media, that's just an influencer.
Yeah.
So I think I might get some additional people from that as well. I've had a few people that have sent me direct messages about it that have been like, if you need anything, happy to help in any way. So I figured I'd also include some, try and put them together nicely, but put together some screenshots of just how I kind of like went about reaching out to some of the people that I've been able to kind of score interviews with.
Yeah.
But I think I have a good amount of people. I'm obviously not going to end up using like every single person in every episode.
It's better to have too much.
Right, exactly, because not everyone is going to give, a great answer. So the more footage I have, the better off I'm going to be. So I think this week is really just going to be me researching all of my options and like doing testing on like which different ways of recording interviews is going to work best for what I need. I think it's going to be Zoom, but I'm not 100% sure. I know there's a lot of other options out there, so I just want to look at that and kind of go from there. But that's really primarily what I'm going to be working on this week. And then next week is when I'll be doing all of my interviews.
Ooh, I just found, I'm looking in, although this is from 2016. It says you can set it to record in side-by-side or full-frame modes. So it's got to be a setting in there.
I'm just really curious as to how it wouldn't record in the way that like I'm in the way that I have it now. So like I have a plug-in on Chrome, I believe, that I can record my screen, which I've used in the past, and have me on camera. Yeah. But I could probably do it on this one too. But I will use this link.
I just sent you a link in the chat.
Yeah, it looks like it's to their specific page. So I'll look into that because I was using their kind of like dash help, if you will. So I'm curious to see how that'll work.
I'm just skimming through
because the thing is too is that I want to the way that I kind of have it set up is I want to make sure that like when I'm cutting down the video or when I'm laying it out that I have space for either the question to be posted up top or maybe perhaps like some type of caption in case it's hard to understand someone. But I also want to include like the stat that I'm talking about or that I mentioned in my questions to people.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that like my layout, and obviously like the 2-person layout obviously is the best option.
That would be the best. Let's see. There's another link in here. Learn more about recording layouts.
Yep, there we go. That's what we need.
And that's what, wow, here we go. All right, I'm going to copy this link into the chat as well.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, yep. All right.
Here's the second one. Recording, desktop recording layouts, gallery view, shared screen.
Side by side.
Shared screen without active speaker.
So the shared screen is like if I was like sharing my screen right now.
Okay.
Really what we need is
I think it's the gallery view.
Yeah, the screen share.
I don't understand why that didn't work for me last time. If you're in gallery view, the recording will be similar to the meeting client and display grid of the layouts video. So I must have not had like something selected properly.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll have to figure out how I can do that because what's interesting is you could do the active speaker, but I think it's definitely the gallery view is the right way to do it.
Yeah, gallery view would be the preference for sure.
I selected gallery view for when I started our call. So my guess is that my hope then is that it will have us in this view because I started the meeting with us in gallery view. Now, That'll be the case and I may need to find the settings to update it, but I will triple check it and make sure that's actually correct.
Why don't you switch to gallery view now?
Okay, so now I'm
It's recording.
So now I'm in speaker view.
Right, now you're in speaker view. Why don't you switch to gallery view?
And now this is gallery view, so now we're side by side. I think
I'm not seeing a side by side though.
it might be
because I have to click on my thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what though? Here's the deal. So there's a highlight around you.
When I talk.
Yeah. No. Well, I guess so. You know, this is exactly what I did last time, and it didn't work. And I really would like to figure this out.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not really sure why it is. I'm curious to see what'll happen.
Yeah.
Stop recording, and then what it looks like.
Yeah.
So my goal is to find some other options. I will test the plugin version. I have a plugin tool that I've used in the past as well, so I'll see kind of how that would work.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could try Skype as well, but I think Zoom is a bit more.
Yeah, Skype seems to be falling behind, but it doesn't hurt to try it.
Yeah, so I'm just this week is gonna be a lot of me testing so I can figure out exactly what is gonna work. The other part of this week is gonna be actually getting like actual interview times nailed down. So I'll be submitting one artifact that's going to be the list of all of my interviews, and then my goal is to hopefully by Saturday hear back from everyone on a scheduled date and time, so that you kind of have an idea of when all of my interviews are happening. And then I think that's kind of it for this week. It's really just getting kind of ready to get figure all the logistics that I need figured out beforehand, get those like finalized.
Yeah.
Big for me.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. You're right on top of things. You're getting a ton of stuff done. I don't think, you have, you just seem really on track. There are a couple of other people who are not on track that I am concerned about, but you are not one of them.
I'm always been like a very organized individual. So like, I find that the more that I have like checklists and to-do lists, it's like very helpful. So actually the production journal is like acting as like my like secondary checklist, which is nice because like, I have obviously my project management system for Trello, but the production list, I'm like breaking everything down like even further than like my production or than my projects management system. So I'm like, okay, I have to do this, and that all falls under like this little umbrella, but these are all the things under the umbrella. So the production journal has been very helpful.
Okay, good. And I'm the video after we finish today for Mod 5, which basically talks about, the main lack that I see in, oops, I'm frozen up. Let me stop my video.
Oh, there you are.
The main lack that I see in terms of professionals' portfolios is that they'll put like some end result of a project, and then there's nothing else. Mm-hmm. There's no process. There's no description of what they did, what they, where, potential employers, particularly in, design firms, UX firms, social media firms, things like that, they really want to see what exactly it was that you did, right? And that production journal basically captures it in amber, because let's say you're revising your, or some people aren't going to be doing their portfolios for, another year, right? Next summer. And, how do you remember what it is, all of the things that you did for this, so, and so, and two, it's also copy, it might be in bullet list form at this point, but there's bits and pieces that can be used as copy on that portfolio site. So it's like,
it's like there's really gathering everything together, kind of beginning to piece like it.
Embedded.
Yes. Oh, you froze again. That's okay though. Yeah,
I froze again. Let me
I'm really trying to just make sure that, you know, I've always tried to make sure I include a lot of details just because that's kind of how I've always been, but I also know that it's kind of the expectation at this point. So that's why with like each blog article, I found for me, like, just the way that I envisioned it was that like each week was just kind of an update on like what I've been working on, but also because it's not for you and it's not for class, it's for like some random person who might stumble upon it that's looking for content creation or that's looking for video series content on, you know, WordPress. So I think for me, the way that I've tried to like format it is like, okay, so like these are the things, like this was step 1, this was step 2, this was step 3, and just go through everything that kind of was part of that week and explain it in a little bit more detail, which I think I've found to make writing them a lot easier than if I was, you know, like given a prompt.
And I think also too, you know, particularly for what you're doing, I mean, if you wanted to be more prescriptive and even like embed like a tiny listicle in there, you know, you could have, okay, so after this week, these are the 3 key things that you need to do if you want to do, you know, blah, 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 right? And then you could have bullet point X, bullet point, you know, and like, you know, a tiny so you could actually embed that within, you know, your so it then it becomes actionable content for your reader.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'll think about what I can do in particular to like this week's blog. Your note about embedding them not just as like
yes.
Because we're saving them in PDF form, when I add it into WordPress, it automatically just makes it a link because it's a PDF. It doesn't.
Yes, that's fine. Having the whole thing linked as a PDF is fine. But what I'm saying is that like take your best little
like
screenshot of the storyboards.
Yep.
Right? So it's just like one quadrant. And so it's like a sneak peek. And just burying, and even, you know, all of your Canva stuff is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but it could be, you could figure out the right format, you know, the right width, like, you know, how format is critical.
Yep.
So you could pick out the right format and have like a little excerpt. It could even be a zoomed in excerpt. Mm-hmm. It could be, you know, just a quadrant of storyboard. But basically breaking up your copy with those images is just going to make it much more readable, and it's going to keep your viewers there longer.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, so I'll do that as I go along. This week will be a little bit interesting just because it's going to be mostly like video, like that I'll be submitting like short video clips of like just showing the different platforms I'm using, but also like I'll include like a screenshot of like the interviewee list that I have. So I'll include that in there. And then I'll include like a screenshot of part of like the video release that I'm going to make too. And then this way it's like, because that's okay.
And if you want to embed test video, you can. Yep. If you just want to embed screenshots of the test video, you can. That's up to you. You know, it's like if you think like, you know, because sometimes when you're doing messy sketches or whatever, you're not really ready to show it. It's up to you.
Okay.
You know, what you want to put on the blog. But just anywhere you can insert some of those images and things, it'll just make it stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll think about kind of like how and what to include.
Yeah. And I would, if you have time at some point in the future, I would go back to your previous blogs and plug those in.
Okay.
Because the life cycle on these things, especially if let's say you started getting viewership for the web series, and then they find the blog, and you know, so So you know, if you've got the quadrant of storyboard, and then the PDF link to the full storyboards underneath, it's like, oh, I want to see the rest of this, and I'll click on it. Otherwise, people will be like, I'm not clicking on a link, you know, or whatever.
That's very true. Not everyone wants to do that. And people might think it's all like,
that's right.
Having the idea of having the screenshot definitely makes a lot of sense for sure.
You have to lure them in.
Yes, that's very true. That's why I think I think for me, like the hardest part of last week was writing the hook.
Yeah.
That was really hard because it was like, how do I take, like, I already had the idea of what episode, like what each episode would be. I just didn't know what, it took me a while to figure out how to draw them in with that. And I think like after watching a lot of YouTube videos, I realized very quickly how I wanted like the very first, like when you see it. So the thumbnail I think is going to be that very first like screenshot pretty much of it. So it's going to be like me on camera. It's going to have the big, bold, bright colored text that has the hook in it so that it's right there. And then it's just attention grabbing. But that was, I think, the hardest part for me was like actually the hook and the script writing, because I wanted it to be, you know, really thought out and well placed. And then I also had I think
the one advice I would give you on on the design of that thumbnail, that opening thumbnail, is that I would, you know, you've got the Canva design abilities. Most of the people that have that big, god-awful, electric colored, gigantic type really can't, they're not designers, they don't know what they're doing, right? So how can you use the bold type hook, but also make it look really beautifully designed?
I think for me, maybe it needs to be like some type of like influencer looking photo. Like you have like that really beautiful photo behind it, and that's when you have the text in front of it. Because I think like you need something that's like related to it. And I think like, because it's about influencers, it should be like those like really like what if an image I would imagine that I would see if I was scrolling through Instagram.
And so what you want to do is you want to always be generating those so that you have a pile of them. You can just pull out, oh, here's one, plug it in. This is, and then, you know, alternate the color palette from one to one. So I can quickly tell, oh, this is Ashley's new video, right? Oh, this is the new one. I haven't seen this one because I'm not even aware that unconsciously, subconsciously, I'm identifying a new color and a new image.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I know we talked about that last time. So kind of working through like a color scheme for each episode. I think for me, what I really wanted to do was make sure that, that each like outro wasn't just like a dead end, that it like leads into the next and the next and the next. And then the last one is where you have like that, you know, if you like this content, blah, 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 please thumbs up, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. So I think that was the part that I wanted to really work through to get it from like how do you keep them interested. So I kind of ended each script with another hook that is the hook to bring you into the next one.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll explore Canvas today and tomorrow and try and start working through those fun little elements for the thumbnail photo. I'm excited.
Excellent.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for meeting with me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stop recording. Yes.